Let's look at verse 20. It says, "And God said, let the waters abound. Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, the fowl that may fly above the earth, and open firmament in heaven." I'm reading sort of a different version. You may be having a hard time tracking with me. Sorry about that. So God created great sea creatures and every living thing that moves, with which the waters abound according to their kind, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good, and God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let the birds multiply on the earth. So the evening and the morning were the fifth day. You know, this phrase is repeated again and again as if God is underlining it for emphasis. After their kind, after its kind. This repetition, I don't think it's an accident. It drives home the foundational truth that God built real boundaries into his creation. And this idea, I think, frustrates evolutionists. But as biblical Christians, we believe that God designed life to reproduce and adapt only within its created kind. You did not evolve from the primordial goo through the zoo to you. Your ancestors were not monkeys. Species can experience variation within their kind and adaptation within their kind. It's what we call microevolution, but they do not transform into entirely different kinds. That's called macroevolution. So, for example, I own both a golden retriever and a golden doodle, which is a cross between a retriever and a poodle. And that's an example of microevolution, meaning there's variation within the same basic kind. But macroevolution, the idea that monkeys evolved into humans, simply does not align with the way God ordered creation. And so no matter how strongly one believes in evolutionary theory, conclusive evidence from evolution will never appear because it never happened. There is no missing link. God is a God of design, not of confusion. He delights in creativity, yet he also establishes clear order, and that order speaks directly to us today in our culture that relentlessly blurs those lines that God has drawn. Consider the rise of gender fluidity and the pressure to redefine identity based on feelings rather than God's design. As the saying goes, facts don't care about your feelings. So don't be surprised when living contrary to God's design creates emotional turmoil. You know, demanding that reality bend to your personal preference leads to frustration and instability. You will go crazy. True mental health involves accepting even difficult realities and adjusting well to the harsh realities. In fact, insanity, by contrast, is refusing to accept reality and insisting the world conform to our wishes. Fighting against God's order is the fastest path to inner chaos. But when we honor God's design, life tends to work a whole lot better. When we resist it, life grows increasingly difficult and we become more miserable. So here's a personal heart check for you and for me. Where in your life are you trying to evolve beyond what God has clearly called you to be? Where are you negotiating with boundaries that he has already drawn? The fastest route to peace is not reinventing yourself, it's returning to God's good design. But that begins with humility, coming before God and asking, hey God, who do you say that I am?